Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Old Fashioned Health Network. Good health inside and out. I'm Gwen McDaniel, your host for the Senior Living Show. And today, our guest is Attorney Sylvia Reed. How are you, Attorney Reed? And welcome.
Wonderful, Gwen. Good to be here.
Awesome. It is so good to have you here. And even better than that, Attorney Reed has a message for us today that you are definitely going to be excited about here because it's affecting all of our families. And at some point, all of us will get to a point in life where we will be dealing with elderly parents, aunts or uncles. And unfortunately, in America, Attorney Reed, things just don't work for our seniors like they do in other areas. People don't respect the seniors like they do in other areas. So this is going to be a really good topic for us today. But before we get started, I'd like for you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
My name is Sylvia Reed, and I'm an attorney, and I have been practicing family, real estate, foreclosure prevention, and other laws for over 25 years, off and on for 25 years. I am a new resident of the Atlanta area, and I'm excited to be down here. I'm very happy to be here. I feel this is where I belong at this time in this period of history. I have started a nonprofit organization that has been in existence since 2004. It's called Gateway to Life. And in doing Gateway to Life, we are focusing on domestic violence. And we are building an underground railroad for domestic violence victims, women, children, and the elderly. And the reason why we're focusing on the elderly is because there is a lot of elder abuse that the world is pushing to the side or ignoring. And that is an issue I think needs to be brought to the forefront. And that's what I'm focusing on. Correct.
So we're going to talk today about elderly abuse. So tell me, Attorney Reed, what exactly is considered elderly abuse?
Okay. Well, you focus on abuse in general is when a person is being taken advantage of, in general, either physically, mentally, and or spiritually, financially. Elder abuse is a more broader issue than we realize. There are national coalitions, there are senior services programs out there, and some of them don't even focus on this issue. And elder abuse could be in different forms. It comes in many forms.
When we think of elderly abuse, what are some of the things that people do against seniors that actually abuses them? Okay. And some people may not even consider it as abuse, but it is.
One of the things that, as we know, people grow old. They get slower, they move slower, they start thinking slower. Some of us have issues that cause us to not act responsibly, as we would consider responsibly, meaning that we don't think of how we put things in our purses or in our wallets, or we don't take care of ourselves financially the way we should. Physically, we actually don't even bathe the way we should because things are starting to change in our lives and we can't get around like we used to. We don't have that mobility. And so mobility plays a big part in why people end up taking advantage of elderly people, physical abuse. It's mostly those that is closest to the elderly person that's going to do it. Sons, daughters, cousins, nieces, nephews, family members, and close friends that know, oh, well, that's just Bob and he don't care no more and he may care, but he just can't do anything about it. So that poor Bob ends up getting taken advantage of, and then eventually it becomes an abusive situation, and it could be physical. Physical could be that they knock him down and they think it's funny and they start laughing. Oh, look at Bob, he can't even stand up straight. The problem could be that he needs a cane or a walker, and the person that he may be living with never took him to the hospital or never took him to the doctor to get checked out. So part of that issue is when you know that you're living with somebody who's suffering those issues, you need to take them to see the proper medical technicians so that they can get the proper help. When they don't get the proper help, then that starts to get abusive, because now you're taking advantage of them. You're allowing them to be sick in their situation when they may not have to be. That's abusive.
And so we then see it in other forms. We see it in forms of their finances.
Absolutely.
We see it
especially in their finances.
Yes.
I want to deal with that now, if that's okay. Financial abuse. Okay, so you're living with Bob. Let's keep Bob. We're going to keep Bob as our elderly person, because it's women or men. It doesn't matter. It could be Willie, because there's always a Wilhelmina and there's a William. So we could call him Willie. Let's change Bob's name to Willie. That way we know it's either men or women, elderly, that gets taken advantage of. Now, Willie has gotten older. And Willie used to have a good job. As a matter of fact, Willie's got a great pension coming in. She worked at the post office for so many years, or he has worked at, a great job as a mechanic or whatever. And now they got this wonderful pension coming in every month. Well, guess who knows that? Their children and their family members, and probably their friends and their friends' kids. So they need money, because the kids either may or may not have a drug problem, or they may have an alcohol problem, or they may have some kind of other financial need or issue. And so they kind of start spreading the word. Oh, so-and-so, Willie, has some money coming in every month, and he don't need that, because, they're living in a nice home and so on and so forth. But they don't know that Willie needs that money to pay for their food, to pay their expenses. And so what happens is these young people, or I'm going to say younger people, come in, because they could be as young as 60 years old taking advantage of a 70 or 80-year-old. So I'm saying younger person comes in. They know how to sign the signature or sign the back of the check and cash it. And they take advantage of that person by not providing them food. They'll use the money for something else and not use it for the needs of the person who's for Willie.
So it could be children, grandchildren, caretakers,
Absolutely.
Neighbors.
Absolutely.
Neighbors could actually.
Especially in the country.
Yeah.
Okay. Not so much the city, believe it or not. I mean, city has issues too now. Don't get me wrong. But believe it or not, the country is where people know everybody. And they know everybody's situation, and it's more than likely from an unlikely source that could be taking advantage or abusing that senior. So they have to be able to reach out. Don't be afraid to continue to let people take advantage of you if you're an elderly person, because you don't want to get involved with the judicial system, and you don't want that particular person who's taking advantage of you to be involved with the judicial system either.
Or
and that may be a reason.
Mad at you, like with kids.
Yeah, and that's why I think that a lot of elderly people don't report. It's because they don't want to get involved.
Absolutely. Welcome back, everyone, to the Old Fashioned Health Network with the Senior Living Show. And I've been talking with attorney Sylvia Reed, and we've been discussing elderly abuse. And before our break, attorney Reed, we were talking about some warning signs.
There are other signs that there are other things going on. Now, one of the things that concern me is when a younger person will take Willie out for dinner, but then next thing you know, they're dating that person, and then next thing you know, they're married. All of a sudden, how did an older man or woman now get married to somebody 20 years their junior, and no one knows about it except them and that person? There is a problem. You need to check into that, and you have to stay on top of that, because some of our seniors are lonely. Now, there's two different issues. Sometimes you are alone or you're lonely. Now, if somebody figures out that you're lonely, you got to watch out for that, because that somebody can come in and take advantage of that situation, and then next thing you know, your money's gone. You can't figure out how this happened, and then your situation is different. They're not taking you to the doctor like they should. And then there are genuine relationships. Now, so I'm not unrealistic about that. I'm just saying, watch out for those things that don't look right, smell right, and seem right. If it's a duck, it's in the water. If it ain't, well, we got a problem.
Some of that abuse creates health problems.
Absolutely.
What kind of health problems do we normally see?
Well, of course, the beyond the typical, we see problems with, again, I was saying mobility issues. They're not getting around. They can't walk right. Something's going on. And that's even with anybody dealing with domestic violence. Now, you got to be real about this. This is domestic violence. We don't consider it that because we're used to domestic violence being between a man, woman, and the kids. But elders face this just as much as anybody else, and have been for years, and it's kind of been shoved someplace else where it doesn't belong. But this is domestic violence, and because it's home and it's violent. And domestic violence, you may see bruises on them, or they may start wearing sunglasses. Mama, when did you start wearing sunglasses? Willie, when did you start wearing sunglasses? Or when if they're used to being at a senior center and all of a sudden they don't come to the senior center anymore. Those are indications that there may be issues that need to be checked out. Now, the police department has a welfare check system. So if you don't personally feel comfortable going to Willie's house to check out on Willie, then you can call your local police and ask them to do a welfare check on that person and see what's going on.
Oh, now that's interesting. So there is some outside support.
There's supposed to be outside
that.
support. Absolutely.
One thing that I'd like to point out is how elderly can be abused over the phone. My mom constantly gets calls from people requesting money over and over and over, the same organizations asking for funding. It can be from Indians, it can be from anybody. I mean, it doesn't matter who it's from. Do you consider that as abuse?
It becomes abusive because it's the constant badgering over and over again. And then if you look at their bank accounts, all of a sudden they've given to the cats, the dogs, they've given to the children in another world, another country, another state, and over again. You notice that it's not just $10 anymore. It's 10, it's 50, and it's $100. Now and they're emptying out their bank accounts when they need the money. And so that becomes an abusive situation when it's over and over again. It's one thing to donate, and give, but then to do it over and over again is a problem.
Yes.
And I think that's where the abusive issue comes in.
Sure. So let's talk about just a few preventive methods. What are some things that maybe could be done to identify and rectify some of these problems that you see?
Okay. I think that the truly caring person of that elderly person, of Willie, needs to make sure that on their refrigerator there's a magnetized list of phone numbers, in big numbers, not little numbers, where if they fall down, or I'm not going to advocate for Life Alert or anything else like that, because that is also a cost. There's a monthly cost to that, and it may be a little strong for some people to be able to carry it. Sometimes it may be covered by Medicare. I'm not sure. But if you know that you're dealing with a potential frail elderly person, they need to make sure that those numbers are posted in more than just one place. In their bedroom, same numbers. In the kitchen, same numbers. In the bathroom, same numbers, especially in the bathroom, because the bathroom is where a lot of the accidents tend to happen because of the water, slippage, things like that. And when they're going to the bathroom, things tend to happen and that they weren't expecting. So I think that phone numbers and emergency devices need to be put into place. We have cell phones now. We have the headphones, and those headphones you can carry those around, and that's Wi-Fi. So that might be an option. putting those headphones around their necks without having to pay extra. You have a cell phone bill, then you also have a somewhat of a life alert kind of thing. So you have to look at what this senior can afford.
This village that we oftentimes see for children, we need to have the same village for our elderly, and that includes the doctor. We have a personal relationship with our mother's doctor. We have a personal relationship with her banker, the minister, different people in the church. They all know, when we are there, who we are.
Absolutely.
And you make sure that your the people that surround your family member, knows these people. But if they're isolated, that's a problem.
There's also, you have to know that the police are very limited in their resources as well. Police can only do but so much, and so there's a lot of calls that go to 911, and then they're supposed to be disseminated out to different agencies. The issue that I'm having is that a lot of police don't know what agencies are out there to service what situations, and I think that that's where our organization, we're trying to kind of put the resources together, and we need help to do that. We want people to know what's out there to help themselves, because it could be a situation where, like we said, people just didn't realize it was abuse, or they know it's abuse and they're afraid to call, or they're afraid because they don't want to involve the quote-unquote police.
Yeah.
They don't want to involve that situation where they're dealing with the judicial system. So we need to know what other resources are out there to help them without having to go that route.
Absolutely. Well, those are some great points. And I just want to make a point to you, my friends. If you feel that you are in an abusive situation, and you don't have to be an elderly person for that to occur in your life, get some help. Call someone and talk to someone in the church and let somebody know what's going on. But this is a topic that we need everybody's attention to, because I love my grandmother, I love my mother, and I'm sure that you do as well. So we want to protect them. It's important for us to do that. So we're depending on you to take care of a neighbor, a family member, someone that's in this position, because you know what? One day you'll be sitting in that same chair.
We want to plant some great seeds now so that your turn is coming. It'll be a good turn. So our phone number that you can reach us at is 470-655-6604, and we'll be more than glad to talk to you. Or you can go to www.gatewaytolife.org. That's gatewaytolife.org. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
No problem.